Welcome to Hall Talk. My name is Dylan Schreiman. I'll be introducing my panelists shortly. We're into the month of December and basketball season is into full swing. First, men's basketball has won 3 games in a row, including 2 over ranked opponents. This includes a win over Texas Tech at the Garden by double digits and a big win against Louisville at the KFC Yum Center. With the men's being named to their highest AP ranking since January 2015 and VCU and St. Peter's looming, can they continue their momentum? We'll soon find out. Transitioning to women's basketball, they also had a 2-0 week this week with dominating wins over Marist and St. Francis. With the record now standing at 6-1 and 2 road tests coming up, can the women's team continue their momentum as well? Stay tuned. This is Hall Talk. Welcome back to the show. We have a lot of basketball to get to, so I'll introduce my panelists for the evening. Matt Ambers, JP Prue, how are you guys doing?
Great to be here.
Always good.
We'll get right into it. A huge week for men's basketball. 2 ranked opponents in a row. They beat, starting with Texas Tech, a double-digit win at the Garden. Matt, your initial thoughts on the game and how they handled the number 22 team in the country?
I mean, it's a place that they're comfortable playing, Madison Square Garden. We know they won the Big East Championship there. They've won there in the past. So going back to a familiar place, I think they really needed that. Coming off a week in which they went 1-1 in Brooklyn with a loss to URI and then the win over Vanderbilt, they really needed something to lift their spirits. Going into the Garden against the 22nd ranked team in the country, and I think they played their best basketball game of the season last Thursday night against Texas Tech. Really a complete effort.
And JP, this is the first ranked win for Seton Hall this season, a team with high expectations. What were your initial thoughts of the Texas Tech game?
First reaction was they faced a top 5 defense and almost put up 90 points. They would have if Miles would have hit that and one free throw, which we would expect him to, but you know what? He was excited. But the real thing I want to point out is that gave him confidence. People were still complaining about the Rhode Island game going into that, thinking they'd get destroyed by Texas Tech. They came into a place they call their second home. They went in there and they beat them. Plain and simple as that.
And now we'll move on to a huge win this past Sunday. The men's team beat Louisville 79-77. Desi Rodriguez, 29 points in the effort. Louisville, a team that's very difficult to beat at the KFC Yum Center. They previously won 58 of 59 non-conference games at home. How can this help with momentum, and what can you say about the win?
It wasn't just 58 of 59. It was also 22 straight wins at home for Louisville. That streak is now done and over with. You mentioned Desi Rodriguez, 29 points, one off his career high he set last year against Marquette. He's really, so far this year, Desi Rodriguez, he's been the best player on this Pirates team, far and away.
Not even close.
It's not even close. Angel Delgado, there was the hype around him coming into this season after last year. But Desi Rodriguez is averaging 20 a game, 29 on Sunday, 24 against Texas Tech. Just that week as a whole and named Big East Player of the Week, deserving.
And JP, a huge storyline, obviously, the shot at the end from Desi Rodriguez. Let's talk about game management. We saw it against Rhode Island. It was a thing that was not their best, Kidding Carrington turning over the ball. What do you say about their late game management against Louisville?
What I liked most in that play, Willard trusted his seniors once again. He talked about after the Rhode Island debacle, he wanted to get the ball in Desi's hands. And the one thing I noticed the best, Louisville all game wanted him to drive to his right. To make it so he could drive to his left, to put Miles Powell on the left key, just in case they try to put him to the left, pass it out to Miles Powell, hits the 3. That's the best way to run the offense, and they did it without having to call timeout.
This is a huge win come March, but it could be resume changing. My question to you guys, is Louisville overrated?
I don't think so. I mean, Dave Padgett's not Rick Pitino, but these are still top 25 players on a team, so they're still going to be more athletic. They're going to be a top 2-3 team in the ACC. They just lost a couple games to good teams in Purdue and Seton Hall. That's all I can say to that.
They're still trying to find their way is really what it is. So far this year, they haven't been a top 25 team. They fell out of the rankings. Their 2 toughest games so far this year were Purdue and Seton Hall, and they fell in both of those games. Also played a couple close games against lower opponents like George Mason, Nebraska, Omaha. So I think them losing Donovan Mitchell really hurt them. They would have been a top 10 team with them, and without him, they're still trying to find their way.
A player that has carried Seton Hall, especially over these past 2 games, is Desi Rodriguez. He was named the Big East player this past week, averaging 26.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 3 assists in those 2 games. Rodriguez, it's his second honor. What can you say about how he has really taken this team by storm?
He's grown up. Finally, he's grown up. He's become a mature player.
That's his own words.
He said that himself. So he knew what he had to do to become a great player in this program. He had the athleticism. He had the potential. He just had to. The mindset is all he needed. He's got that now. And like I said before, he has been the best player on this team so far this year. 20 points per game, shooting over 50% from the floor so far this year. He's been unbelievable. Simply unbelievable.
Desi Rodriguez 6-0, or the Pirates 6-0 this season when Rodriguez is their leading scorer. JP, what can you say about his leadership so far?
Honestly, it's a big change. Coming in here as a freshman, he would get put in timeout, honestly, by Willard, just by barking back at him. And he still was even getting that up to last year. I think it was against Marquette or Creighton. He just would not come back in the game because Willard put him in timeout. But you know what? Now he said that when Coach yells at him, he understands it's not personal. He's learned from it and be a leader on the team, and he's really stepped up.
And also the way he's been able to expand his game since he came to Seton Hall, recruited as a power forward, now gone to the 3 position, and been able to expand his game beyond the perimeter. He's come a long way in his 4 years.
We are now 8 games through the season, 8 games of a sample size. I'm wondering how this team has changed. Has the offense changed to feature more of Rodriguez? Do they still play inside out with Angel Delgado? JP, your thoughts. Has Kevin Willard changed the offense of this team?
I think this is the best problem you could possibly have. So if the team's problem is, oh, there's 3-star players, who do we give the ball to? Like, that's all right.
That's not bad.
So if Desi's hot, give it to him. If Powell's hot, give it to him. If Kadeen's hot, give it to him. And if Angel's still down there, he's still going to clean up some boards, put in a couple back. He's still there.
I think what they've really done best is they've had a shooting touch so far this year. Last year, the source of the offense, there wasn't a lot of it. You looked at those 5 starters last year, 2 of them really didn't score, Ishmael Sanogo and Madison Jones. So far this year, the offense has been unbelievable. 37% from downtown as a team to go along with 49% from the field as a whole. So I think that the inside-outside game is still a component of this team. We haven't seen what we saw last year from Angel Delgado down in the post, but I think it's unfair to expect that because he had such an unbelievable season last year.
And also, he's getting triple teamed.
Exactly. He's become a better passer down in the post, too.
Absolutely, and it helps Powell, helps Desi.
Exactly. So I think this team, they've grown together. They've played together for 4 years. This is the peak of their development.
Miles Powell shooting over 41% from beyond the arc definitely has helped the Pirates this season. We saw it against Texas Tech, extended that lead late to really seal the Pirates' victory. Non-conference play, there's 5 games remaining. We're going to play a little fact or fiction here on Hall Talk, and where you think, or if you thought this team would be at the point. Fact or fiction, this team has over-exceeded expectations.
I'm going to go with fiction because they were right on expectations. Now, whether or not that loss was to Louisville or Rhode Island, they still went 2-1 in those games. That's exactly as I saw it. They're most likely going to end up to 12-1. I'm sorry, Rutgers fans. It's going to happen. So just making it clear that it's right on what we thought, 12-1 non-conference.
I'm right on board with JP. That's all. I think that's fiction. I also had this team at 1 loss. I had it against Louisville, but like you said, Louisville, URI, neither are bad losses. This team, exactly. This team is right where I expected them to be. Now they have 5 games left in non-conference, 5 winnable games. Like JP said, 12-1 going into Big East play is a fair expectation.
The Pirates will put their 20 straight non-conference games at the Prudential Center in a row, winning on the line 63-8 all-time there. They play VCU and St. Peter's coming up this week. We're going to move on and transition into women's basketball. Women's basketball also a 2-0 week, 2 dominating wins over Marist and St. Francis. JP, we'll start with you. Your initial reactions from a great week from this women's basketball team.
It's really nice seeing a team win games by 20, 30 points. So seeing them, they were lower level teams, but they still outclassed them. They win games they're supposed to win. Now going a little further with Rutgers, we'll see how they're going to handle that. But right now, good week.
5 players in double figures in the Marist game. We saw Taylor Brown have a big week though.
She's been a really big contributor for this team so far. Transfer from Western Kentucky, sat out last year. He's had a big impact so far this year, leading the team in scoring and rebounding and shooting the ball very well from the floor as well. She's been a great piece for Tony Bozell's crew so far.
So JP mentioned 2 dominating victories. Not only that, the Pirates hit 80 in both games this week. Their offense has stepped up in the past few games this season. What has caused this improvement? Is it the transfers, Fountain and Brown coming in? Is it the guard depth? What do you think?
I think it's honestly the press. Their press is ridiculous. It's crazy. They force 24 turnovers a game. 24.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. But they do that because Inya Batina, Nicole Jimenez, Kayla Hilaire, the guard play on this team, forcing pressure in the backcourt, has been unbelievable so far this year. Turning defense into offense has been key for this team. You look at 81.1 points per game on offense, they've allowed just under 58. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's great so far.
We're going to look forward and moving forward. The team has a tough stretch here coming up on the road at Rutgers, at Boston College. Rutgers 8-2. They've won their last 3 games. Boston College the other direction. They've lost 4 or 5. They're 3-5. Let's predict. What's the record this week for Seton Hall and Rutgers and Boston College?
I think they can go 2-0. I think at the very minimum they go 1-1. That Rutgers game will be tough. Yeah. Pirates went there last year and lost at Rutgers. The RAC is hard to play at, and Rutgers has a very solid team. They're 8-2 so far this year. BC, that game on Sunday, that should be a pretty handy win, but it will, again, be kind of a tough environment with the ACC opponent.
JP, real quick, your predictions.
You know what? I'm going to say they'll go 2-0. 1-1 was my original thought, but it doesn't hurt me to upset Rutgers fans. So that's my take of it. Now, they'll have to play their A game. They need their criminal amount of steals that they normally get. So I think they'll go 2-0, but it'll make me happy.
Both teams with huge weeks this past week. We'll see if they can continue the momentum, especially the women's team, that UCLA date, number 7 in the country, looming. That will do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for joining me, and a happy holidays to everyone here at Pirate TV. We'll be back after the holidays. Stay tuned.